Hello, vinyl community. Thanks for coming in tonight. We have a pretty exciting episode. This is about original liner notes and inner sleeves. More inner sleeves than liner notes. We'll get to liner notes in another day, but inner sleeves and liner notes kind of synonymous with me. I was really into them early on, and what I went through is my collection of old inner sleeves, vintage inner sleeves from records from the mid '50s to the '70s. Most companies had 7 or 8 generic type sleeves that they would use, ads, a little bit about record care, a little bit about the company. It wasn't until later that they did custom sleeves. I think for Capitol, which is what we're talking about today, from my research, there was a few artists that had custom inner sleeves, and it wasn't Sinatra, it wasn't Nat King Cole, it wasn't those that you thought that you would think it would be. It was Stan Kenton, the uh, the jazz musician. Stan Kenton had an inner sleeve that was custom to his particular record, his particular brand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my inner sleeves for Capitol, and I was fascinated when I started doing the research. And there's a lot I didn't know. I learned last couple of days reading stuff online, going over things I saw on eBay. People do sell these on eBay for folks who want to make their original Beatle records complete, their original Beach Boys records complete, their original Chad and Jeremy, Nat Cole, Sinatra, etc. Whoever was on that label at the time. And so I'm going to start this off. In the LP was introduced in '48, and at that time the jackets were thick, and the inner sleeves were thick. It was almost like a fold over mat. I had one, but it's not here now. I'm not going to go look for it, but I did find one, and it's almost like a fold over envelope with pretty thick paper. And the record executives soon discovered that it was actually causing damage and warping the records. So they came up with what they call protective envelope. And it's fascinating that they actually would use um, some of that lingo on their inner sleeves and codes. What the inner sleeves would mean. B and W, BW was black and white. C was for color. Two two TC was for two tone. So they had a lot of different variations of their inner sleeves, and that was Capitol. I'm going to go in future episodes. I pulled out all my inner sleeves that I have saved through the years, original inner sleeves, vintage inner sleeves, and I'm going to do one. I'm going to break down the different major labels, and we Warner Brothers, Atlantic, Reprise, things like that. But Capitol seem to have a really good history. So we're going to pick it up after 48 to 53. The executives and the art department came up with this inner sleeve. That's the first major inner sleeve that went out with Mono Records in 53, 54. And here you could see High Fidelity. And I'll just go over a brief summary. It says, it is placed, the, the moment this fine product is completed, it is placed in this envelope so that it will reach you in mint condition. From here on, quality reproduction is up to you. You need good playback equipment to reproduce the sound, etc., etc. Always keep this record in its jacket and in its inner sleeve. For longer life, use a good needle, one that has the correct size and not worn. Diamond needles are most durable. So that's basically the first one. And then we come to this one. This is also mono. This had color photographs. They started to do ads. So this is music from Capitol, and this is High Fidelity, top stars in their most popular performances. And you see on here Sinatra, Nat Cole, plays, movies, Oklahoma, High Society, the film with Sinatra, Pal Joey, Yul Brenner, and you could see that. And that's this. These were mono records at the time. These are High Fidelity. I'm just going to refer to my notes. Um, Next, we have one that indicates, talks about the Capitol Tower, the stars and the styles from the Capitol Tower. And this is also mono records. This is still pre-stereo. We have a lot of the same artists. We have Carousel, Gypsy, and you could see that. The Music Man, Sinatra's records on Capitol in mono. Right there. And this was their ad campaign. There was maybe 40 or 50 records on here. You could actually see the Louis Prima. Next up, we have another black and white sleeve this time, which was also for mono records. And there you have that. Louis Prima again, Stan Kenton, Les Baxter, Dakota Stanton, The Music Man, Nat Cole, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Jackie Gleason. And so these are records from the early to mid 50s. You can see that. And what I do is I save these sleeves, I put them in with the jacket, and I'll replace this inner with either a MoFi rice paper sleeve or a really nice clean white generic sleeve. Here's another one from Capitol. This is the International Stars and Sounds on Capitol Records. And that's a nice one here. It's still, I believe, mono years. And this has a lot of music from around the world. Mexico, Italy, Argentina, Amsterdam. And that's the side with the international stuff. You can see that. I'll freeze that out. You can freeze that out if you'd like to look at that. And here you have the domestic artists from the Tower, that they say Nat Cole built, not Sinatra. Nat Cole built the Tower. And here we start out with stereo. This is the first stereo sleeve. And that's this one here. So Capitol full dimensional stereo right there. They want to really lay it on you when you open up that album. And here you see some stylist care that they'll talk about. And this is actually stamped 1960 on here from Quality Control at Capitol. And this tells you the 8 questions most asked about stereo records. First of all, what is stereophonic sound? And they go into it. What is a stereo record? What is a stereo cartridge? Do I need both monophonic and stereo cartridges to play both kind of records? No. Stereo cartridges can play both monophonic and stereo records, and monophonic records play just as well with the stereo cartridge. And it has a little diagram here. The next question, why can't I play stereo records with my old cartridge? And it goes on to say that the old cartridges may have a handshake situation where they won't fit properly with the certain grooves. Why do I need 2 audio systems? And it says here, probably you already have one system, a turntable, cartridge, amplifier, and speaker. To keep the 2 channels separate until they are reproduced in your living room, you need a stereo cartridge and an additional amplifier and speaker. Only with this equipment can the 2 audio channels be kept separate until they are presented as stereo. Remember, stereo was in its infancy. The mono records were probably $1 or $2 less than a stereo record. And up until, I believe, 68, you had a choice, with Capitol at least. And then there's another question. Are stereo records more delicate than ordinary high-fidelity records? No. And it says you just take the same precautions that you would do with a mono record. Okay. Now here we have another one. And my notes indicate that we go to black and white. It's a rendering of the tower, Capitol Tower in Los Angeles. And the person who wrote this on some of the sites thought that perhaps to save money, Capitol would go to a black and white shot here. And this also has mono records on the back as well. Here we have another one that's not listed in any of my notes, but I pulled it out of an old Nat Cole record. And this says the top name recorders, the top names on records, all on the top name in records, Capitol. This almost looks like a mimeograph. It's poorly reproduced. So they were actually trying to save money here, doing it in black and white and a cheap reproduction system. And here we have Dean Martin, Carl Reiner with Mel Brooks, the 2,000-year-old man. We have The King and I, the great ones. We have Benny Goodman. We have Dinah Shore. We have Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington was also on Capitol for a while. Jonah Jones, the Kingston Trio. Nancy Wilson, rather. So this is it, Ray Anthony. And that's it. And then we go back to, it says here we go back to color. And this says full dimensional stereo. Each are in color. It illustrates about 20 stereo LPs. And you can see that's pretty cool. There's also one, which I couldn't locate, that has the two microphones with a stereophonic graft in between to show the movement of stereo on a graph. And that's that. There's some albums there. And this has reviews on the back. All we could say is Capitol stereo reproduction is absolutely perfect. The new records. Then we have something from Hi-Fi Stereo Review. The virtues of stereo to bring out the best in an album have never been revealed quite so vividly before. And then Hi-Fi Stereo Review also goes on to say, Capitol has engineered a marvel of a recording. And Capitol Stereo really brings this one home. So that's this one. That's in color, back to color. And then we go to, this is a cool one, which was the short-lived Capitol 7-inch 33 records. And I don't even have any of these in my collection. So if you have any of these, I'd like to, if you could post a photo or if you could tell me about those. But, and here it has the drawing and artist rendition of the Capitol Tower again, which we saw before. And here it says, designed to offer big record convenience at small record price, boasts a compact 33 single, 2 selections, and compact 33 double, 4 selections, can be played at the standard 33 1/3 RPM album speed, eliminating the need for special spindles or extra adapters. This was very short-lived. I might have some, didn't even know there were 33s, just assumed they were 45s. But that's a cool one to get. I don't have too many of these. These weren't in a lot of records. These are all pre-Beatles, pre-Beach Boys. We haven't gotten to those obviously yet. And when that happens, when the Beatles hit and the Beach Boys hit and rock and roll hit, these inner sleeves changed dramatically. And here we have one from Capitol. In this case, the mono sleeve and its stereo counterpart were both printed in black and white, probably again to save money. The mono sleeve displays covers of 60 available records and also include Judy Garland's popular Judy at Carnegie Hall in the upper left corner. And you can see that there. And this is black and white. They went from color to black and white again to save, a few bucks here and there. And this has Tex Ritter, Andy Griffith. He had an album. Sinatra, the Kingston Trio, Guy Lombardo, the 4 Preps on Campus, Moon Latino, and here we see the Judy Garland there. Duke Ellington, Swing in Mexico. The typical, so there supposedly is about 50 LPs advertised on this. From here we go to a stereo version again. And this is the only Capitol stereo liner that would advertise stereo records, but was in black and white. And these are the duophonic. So it's actually reproduced stereo for mono. They're terrible, but they're valuable. I have a few Beach Boys that will command big bucks. And here it says, these all-time favorite once-in-a-lifetime performances are now available in Capital Duophonic. So this is a fake stereo. And some people love them, you know. Some people love these. And you can see who's on here. I hope you could watch that. You could freeze it out at home if you need to study it. But these are cool. And another thing I found when I pulled these from the jackets, and I believe this was done at the factory where the records were assembled into the jacket, but each liner note, each inner sleeve has a corresponding number of the record. For instance, this was SW1194, I believe, and that goes into that Sinatra or Nat Cole album. I found these in a number of these. This one here doesn't have one, but most of them, I would say half of them did. Now we're going into the colors. This is, let me see here. Here we're getting up to the Beatle era. Here are the hits by the Stars on Capitol. Sammy Davis, Jackie Gleason, Ray Anthony. And here you can see the Beatles. There you go. This advertises Revolver, Best of the Beach Boys, Rubber Soul, Pet Sounds, Yesterday and Today. And then it has Peter and Gordon, Chad and Jeremy, Lou Rawls, David McCallum from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Wayne Newton. And it's interesting that here's something here. It's a documentary album from, I believe, a documentary on LSD. Pretty rare film. Let's see here. Okay, here's more Beatles stuff. This is 66. And these were printed in the millions, but there wasn't a lot. The variations are very sparse if you consider the millions of records sold. And these were placed in records. And it also indicates from the number and from the letter code what factory these came from. So supposedly if you pick up a mint or a sealed copy of Yesterday and Today, based on the inner, you could tell where that was manufactured, as well as the dead wax, and sometimes on the jacket. But that's the full dimensional stereo that sounds better than stereo than ever before. That's Capitol. And we're getting to the end, folks. This is almost the end. This is 66. These are still around. I've been when I buy records at thrift shops and yards or flea markets, I look through to check the condition, and it's almost 80% of the time now these inner sleeves are missing. What they've done is someone has went through and has taken out the inner sleeves and just keeping the record there. Sometimes they're replaced if the person who owned them earlier replaced them with a white generic or a MoFi, or very rarely a MoFi, or some type of poly sleeve. But most of the time at thrift shops, these inner sleeves are missing now because people know that the inner sleeves are valuable. I actually see these for sale online so that people can get their record, like I said, their Beatles, their Beach Boys, etc., back to the way it was at the factory. Here we have another. This is a PE12 2ES printed in USA. And this is about 66 too. This has Beatles 65, Bobby Rydell, who just recently passed away, Beatles Songbook, Frankie Lane, Golden Boy. Some of these artists I haven't heard of. A rare Wanda Jackson, who was the female Elvis. I saw her perform with Imelda May one day in Philly. It was great. And I talked to her. And this is another one that talks about stereo. Trying to put stereo over mono. They were both available. So the mono LPs didn't get this particular inner. Here we have just almost a generic sleeve that Capitol went through. And this just says Capitol Records, Capitol Records, Capitol Records around the perimeter. And this is Next to Last, a Sinatra. And it talks about time to replace your record. Give you some indication on a used needle, a used stylus. So these were pretty cool. And each major label had their own inner sleeves. They advertised, they talked about their label, talked about their artists. As you know, Warner Brothers had that series where you can mail away and receive a sampler, which I did a show on that. But these are really cool. These are in really nice shape, considering they're over 60 years old. Okay, now here's the last one that I know about that Capitol did. And this was called the Teen Set on Capitol. And it has an order form for a club to cater to teenagers. So Capitol was starting to move after the Beatles and Beach Boys and rock and roll took over. And also a Bobby Darin record on here. Buck Owens was on Capitol. Nancy Wilson was on Capitol. Peggy Lee, Sammy Davis Jr., Streisand, and Funny Girl. These are not only a history of Capitol, it's a history of American music, and I've always said that. It's a history of our country, and it's a history of the world, of the music that was loved all over the world. And here I'll just read what you can receive at the Teen Set. Just have a little sip here. This is what you'll receive. And it was $1 introductory membership fee. And you would actually write down who your 3 favorite recording stars were. And here you get an official Teen Set membership card, a specially selected 45 single by one of America's top teen artists, information on how you can get fan photos, and I'm going through this quickly, I'm paraphrasing, details in the next issue of the Teen Set magazine, and regular issues of Capitol Free Teen Set newsletter, including inside information on artists such as the Beatles, Celia Black, Glenn Campbell, Jerry Cole and his Spacemen, Dick Dale and his Deltones, Bobby Darin, the Druvels, the Four Preps, Mr. Gasso and their Weirdos, and the Weirdos, don't have any of them, the Good Time Singers, Donna Lynn, Peter and Gordon, etc. Here's all you do. Fill out the coupon at the right, send $1 to Teen Set, Hollywood, California, to be in the know about the latest new releases. Be a leader of the Teen Set. Send the coupon today. You don't want to waste a moment. And I found some of these sleeves with this coupon missing. So after this, we go to, Capitol goes to a white sleeve, basically that. And then they went to a plastic sleeve, which maybe had a quick name of Capitol or whatever on it. But that was it. That's a brief history. I'm only missing, as far as I know from my research, 1 or 2, and I've also indicated there was a few that weren't on the website. But in 67, the Summer of Love, Capitol did issue a custom sleeve, and that was this custom sleeve for this record, Sgt. Pepper's. This is a mono, original mono, OG. Oh no, it's stereo, but it's, yeah, stereo. This is stereo. I thought it said M on the back, stereo. And here you have the infamous inner, which is only used with Sgt. Pepper. But when I researched, I read that it may have been slipped in some other Capitol records. I've never seen one. And this is a VG copy. It has some tape on it, but that's it. And these are going for, I actually sold one of these once on eBay for about $30 to $40 plus shipping just for the sleeve, And here's the Rainbow Capital. So I hope you like that. And like I said, if you do, let me know. I haven't seen anything done in this style on YouTube. There's some write-ups on it on Google. So I hope you like it, but I have a lot of major labels. I'm going to do Warner, Capitol, Warner, WEA, Elektra. We'll do one on Dot. We'll do one on Paramount. We'll do one on ABC, and I'll combine those. But the history of Capitol was pretty interesting because it all lasted a short period of time, and then it went back to the white that we have today. And today, record companies do advertise on Intersleeve, but nothing as elaborate as what we saw in the golden era. And for my pick of the segment, audiophile sound for an OG pressing, I'm going with this Nat Cole, basically because it's a Capitol, and this is Capitol Stereo. And this record was recently done, I think, by Acoustic Sounds as I believe it was Acoustic Sounds as a 45 RPM because the tapes were just fabulous. And here it also says on the back, this stereo record should be played only with a stereo cartridge and needle to avoid damage. But this record of Nat Cole, and here we have one of the stereo inners I talked about. This is in really nice shape. And here we have a beautiful pressing of this. Nat Cole's in the room. The orchestrations are lush and lust. Too much of vodka here. But that's it. And pick that record up. Get the OG. If you really love it, you can get the MoFi or not the MoFi, the Analog Productions, I believe it was. And that's basically it. So I hope you enjoy this segment. I did a lot of research in this, and I didn't hit all the bells and whistles. I'm sure a lot of you folks out there know more about this than we do here. But I hope this educates you. Save your original inners. When you go out in the wild, you'll see that they're getting hard to come by, and that's the thing. All the good stuff's getting hard to come by. But that's it. That's a really nice copy here. So thanks a lot. Keep rocking. Hope you enjoyed this segment. I know it was long, but we went through a lot of information. And please subscribe if you like what you've seen. If you're first time on the channel, and hit like for all the same reasons. Thanks a lot. Keep rocking. And LPs are us signing out. Thanks a lot.